Why don't you go home early like the other housekeepers? You've been looking eager to leave all this time. You're such a terrible woman. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started bothering me at a time when my husband and uncle-in-law aren't around. I'm sure they got angry from their exchange with my uncle-in-law earlier. They approached me to take out their frustrations. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law are freely saying whatever they want and laughing with a smirk. When I used to go to take care of my father-in-law, I would be cautious not to provoke my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, but I no longer need to tolerate it. I don't mind, but on the other hand, but are you sure you're okay? My name is Fiona. I'm a 32-year-old housewife. I have been married to my husband Ethan for 6 years. However, we still don't have any children, and it's just the two of us living together. Ethan has always been busy with work and frequently goes on business trips, but when he is home on weekends, he helps with household chores, treats me to his special cooking, and values our time together. He always remembers special occasions like anniversaries and makes reservation without working overtime on those days. He takes me to high-end restaurants. Even after getting married, he is truly a gentleman and a wonderful person, almost too good for me. I believe my husband must have a personality similar to my father-in-law. He has a calm demeanor, is kind, and possesses a reliable and masculine side that I can rely on. Moreover, I think my husband and father-in-law are alike in that they have a bright and friendly personality, which attracts people around them. I used to work in caregiving before getting married, but when my husband had to relocate for work and proposed that I come along, I decided to quit my job. Although it would have been possible to search for a job in the new location, which happens to be my husband's hometown, my husband told me, "The cost of living here is low, so it would be better for you to take a break and relax without working." So I decided to take his words to heart and indulge in this opportunity. And so I devoted myself to the role of supporting my husband as a homemaker, taking care of household chores. Even so, my husband helps with the housework and never complains about my chores. So, it's truly enjoyable. Since my husband earns a good income, we don't face financial difficulties, and we lead peaceful and happy days. However, amidst such circumstances, one day an event occurred that suddenly changed our situation.
"Fiona, it seems like Dad collapsed and was taken to the hospital."
What? It seems that my father-in-law suddenly collapsed at home and was taken by an ambulance. I hurriedly got into the car and headed to the hospital. Fortunately, my father-in-law survived, but he broke his leg when he fell down the stairs during the collapse. Considering his old age, we were told that he would need to use crutches or a wheelchair for daily life. My husband and I discussed how we were just grateful that he was alive. Afterward, while my husband went to make a phone call at his workplace, I overheard a conversation between my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. "He's a real pain in the ass. It's so annoying that he's staying in our house for free, and now he can't live alone anymore. It's seriously annoying. And on top of that, there are various expenses involved in caregiving, right? Our potential inheritance will also decrease, won't it?" I accidentally encountered them while they were whispering to each other. I pretended not to hear and tried to pass by, but my mother-in-law called out, "Wait a moment," and stopped me. "Fiona, if I remember correctly, you used to work in the caregiving profession, right? Won't you take care of your father?" "Huh? Well, it's true that I used to work in the caregiving profession, but it's been 6 years since I quit, and I can't guarantee that I can do it as well as before. If you're considering caregiving at home, it's important to rely on professionals who can handle it properly. Alternatively, you could consider placing him in a care facility." When I mentioned this, both my mother-in-law and sister-in-law had very displeased expressions on their faces. "That won't do. You're more of a professional, so it should be enough." Exactly. It would be easier for Dad to have someone experienced taking care of him. Or do you dislike taking care of him for some reason? How awful. So Ethan's wife is such a cold-hearted woman. They tried to portray me as a villain when I refused their request. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were trying to make me look bad. I managed to deflect the situation by saying, "Let me discuss it with my husband for now." When I reported the incident to my husband after returning home, he was surprised.
Seriously? Did Mom say something like that? It would be a burden on Fiona, so it's better to ask for caregiving.
I was relieved that my husband said that. And then my husband called my mother-in-law and told her that I wouldn't be providing caregiving. However, my mother-in-law opposed it. "What are you saying? It costs money to ask for caregiving."
Well, we don't have that kind of money, such as Dad's retirement fund. So why don't you just take it out of your pension or something?
Don't tell me that without my permission. It's a matter of money, so don't decide unilaterally. In the end, we couldn't make a decision over the phone, so we decided to go to my in-laws' house on another day and have a discussion with my mother-in-law and father-in-law, 4 of us, together. My father-in-law will be discharged from the hospital soon and will return home, so we need to decide quickly. However, the discussion at my in-laws' house proved to be difficult.
Dad also said it's okay to hire a caregiver, so we won't let Fiona take on the caregiving.
Don't joke around. That person completely entrusts me with the financial management and doesn't understand anything. I manage the household finances as a full-time homemaker to ensure everyone can live properly. According to my calculations, we can't afford to hire a helper. My mother-in-law became stubborn and refused to rely on external help. And my sister-in-law also agreed with my mother-in-law and opposed the idea. Exactly. You know nothing about the hardships Mom has gone through. Who was the one taking care of household chores and supporting the family since we were kids? Dad may have been working outside, but it was Mom who cooked and cleaned, allowing him to work without any worries. That's why Mom understands this household the best. So it's better to rely on Fiona, who is a family member, for caregiving rather than spending money to hire someone. My sister-in-law's words made my mother-in-law nod in agreement. However, despite her seemingly reasonable argument, my sister-in-law has never left home at the age of 35. She dropped out of college and only works part-time as a freeloader, apparently contributing no money to the household. That's why my sister-in-law's words lack credibility. If she's so supportive of my mother-in-law, she should be independent and provide support herself.
Then why don't you take care of the caregiving, sis? You have plenty of free time anyway.
What are you talking about? I'm also busy with various things. Besides, Fiona, who has experience in caregiving, is more suitable for the job. Both my husband and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law are not backing down. Feeling sorry for my father-in-law, I decided to take on the caregiving. I'll take care of the caregiving.
Hey, Fiona.
Don't worry, I want to repay your father for taking care of me. That's great. It's decided then. If only you had said you would do it sooner, we wouldn't have wasted time talking. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were very pleased with my decision. Though I haven't told my husband yet, he must be happy, thinking it will prevent a decrease in the inheritance. Today's discussion confirmed my thoughts that they are truly unpleasant people. After returning home, my husband asked me if it was really okay and said that if it's too much for me, I can refuse. I replied, "Yes, it's fine."
Thank you. But if anything happens, make sure to consult with me right away.
My husband said that, and it gave me some peace of mind. And I made up my mind to take good care of my father-in-law. After being away from caregiving for a while, I studied and refreshed my knowledge on it. And after a while, my father-in-law was discharged from the hospital, and that marked the start of my caregiving journey. My in-laws' house is located about a 10-minute walk from our apartment. After seeing off my husband as he left for work, I headed to my in-laws' house. I was so busy taking care of my father-in-law that I didn't pay much attention, but my mother-in-law and sister-in-law hadn't been doing anything. They had completely shifted the responsibility of taking care of my father-in-law onto me, and they hadn't been doing any housework either. I was appalled to realize that all their promises during our previous discussion were lies. My father-in-law apologized, saying,
"I'm sorry for all the trouble my wife and daughter are causing."
He was truly a conscientious and kind person. From then on, I took care of my father-in-law every day. My father-in-law would always express his gratitude and say thank you politely. Moreover, my father-in-law was knowledgeable and taught me many things I didn't know. I enjoyed our conversations and spending time with him. My husband also talked to his company, explaining the situation, and reduced his business trips and overtime work. He would come to my in-laws' house in the early evening on weekdays and say,
"I'll take care of the caregiving so you can take a break,"
showing concern for me. I'm grateful to have such a kind husband. In this way, while cooperating with my husband, I took care of my father-in-law. However, his chronic illness worsened, and he was taken to the hospital where he passed away. Both my husband and I were deeply saddened by my father-in-law's death. And during the funeral, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law shed tears, but knowing their true nature, I suspected it was all an act. Afterward, we were busy with various matters, and before we knew it, few months had passed and it was time for the 3-month memorial service for my father-in-law. Some relatives also attended, and there was a need to provide hospitality, so I was helping with the preparations. My father-in-law's younger brother, who lived far away, seemed to have had a close relationship with him since their early years, but he couldn't come to visit her easily. They often communicated through phone calls and emails.
"I've heard a lot about you from my brother, Fiona. Thank you for taking such good care of him until the end."
I felt embarrassed after being told that. Upon hearing that, my mother-in-law interjected, saying, "You're just a daughter-in-law, so it's only natural to be grateful. Don't start thinking too highly of yourself." At that moment, my uncle-in-law, who had been silent until then, said,
"If that's the case, then normally it should be the wife like you or the daughter who should do it."
He defended me, saying,
"It's unreasonable to make your son's wife do it."
Tensions were running high, and I was nervous inside. However, after that, we didn't argue further, and the engagement ended smoothly. I stood up to go to the bathroom. Then my mother-in-law and sister-in-law approached me. "Why don't you leave soon and mind your own business? I could tell you've been wanting to go home for a while. You're truly a terrible woman." My mother-in-law and sister-in-law approached me at a time when my husband and uncle-in-law were not around. They must have been angered by the exchange with my uncle-in-law earlier. They were trying to intimidate me as a way to vent their frustrations. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were freely speaking their minds, smirking and laughing. When I used to go to take care of my father-in-law, I was cautious not to provoke my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. But now I don't need to endure it anymore. "I don't mind, but are you sure you're okay with it?" I said that with a smile, and my mother-in-law and sister-in-law widened their eyes. "What do you mean? Have you gone crazy or something?" "I mean that I no longer need to be considerate of you." "Stop saying incomprehensible things. You're really a strange daughter-in-law. You're only useful during caregiving." I sighed in exasperation. "From my perspective, you and your mother have been nothing but a nuisance. It's a good thing your father is a kind person. If it weren't for him, you would have been abandoned long ago. Living off him without doing any household chores, and just parasitic." "What are you saying? You're just a daughter-in-law. What do you even know?" While my mother-in-law and sister-in-law turned red-faced, I continued without minding. "The reason why your father didn't get a divorce is because he didn't want to take the mother away from his 2 children. He valued being there for his family. He said he didn't want to get divorced until he saw his daughter get married and leave. He was a wonderful person who wanted to see through the decisions he made until the end. My father-in-law. So deep down, he probably wanted a divorce. During the time I was taking care of my father-in-law, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law often went out together, and in those moments when they were unaware, my father-in-law would confide in me and tell me everything. Then my husband and uncle-in-law arrived.
What are you and Mom doing? You weren't scaring Fiona, right?
What? How dare you look at me like that?
Do you think I don't know your true nature? Well, let's put that aside for now and continue with the inheritance matters.
Saying that, my husband handed the documents to my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and upon seeing them, they gasped and raised their voices. Wait a minute. Why is that amount so little? Certainly, the amount written in the documents was surprisingly small, considering that my father-in-law worked for a major company. At that moment, my uncle-in-law spoke up.
My brother. He knew everything about how you treated him as an inconvenience behind his back, and that you've been home all these years just to get his inheritance. Still, he believed and waited, hoping that one day we could all feel a sense of family bond. But you kept getting more and more arrogant, doing whatever you pleased. It seems like you harbor even more disdain for my brother and spoke ill of him incessantly. It appears that you even said things like "die quickly" right in front of my sister, thinking she was asleep. My brother heard everything. My mother-in-law was bloodthirsty at my uncle-in-law's words. That's why my brother decided to leave only the legal share for you and transfer the rest to Ethan and Fiona. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were speechless. So that means we'll only have this measly amount in that house left? In response, my husband said in an exasperated tone, What do you mean by measly amount? Be grateful that you still have some money left. And as for that house, I'll be inheriting it. So both you and my sister need to leave.
What? You're planning to kick us out? Are you really going to evict your own family?
Shut up. I'm angry at how both of you treated Dad like that. I don't consider you as family anymore. I'm cutting ties with you, and from now on, you're complete strangers to me. Strangers are not welcome in my house. My husband's rare outburst surprised my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and they understood the dire situation they were in, their faces turning pale. From then on, both of them desperately apologized to my husband and sought his help, but he never forgave them. Subsequently, my husband resorted to legal measures to force my mother-in-law and sister-in-law to leave. To ensure they wouldn't come barging in, we also decided to move. We blocked all contacts with them, so we would never meet or speak to them again, bringing peace into our lives. Apparently, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law went around seeking help from relatives, but no one was willing to assist them, because everyone knew how they treated my father-in-law. According to what I heard, they rented a cheap apartment, and both started working part-time, but their habit of overspending only increased their debts. Well, I no longer care about their situation. On the other hand, my husband and I continued to live happily together. And guess what? I got pregnant. After 7 years of marriage, when we had almost given up, it was truly a joy to conceive a baby. We will continue to live as a loving couple and raise our unborn child together, fulfilling my father-in-law's dream of a happy family. We are determined to embody the happiness of a family. The mother-in-law and sister-in-law are truly like parasites, and that's infuriating. If they were being supported, they should have been more grateful to her father-in-law. Well, in the end, they were abandoned by everyone and forced into a life of poverty, so it felt like they got what they deserved. As for Fiona, please continue to enjoy your wonderful husband and the days of happiness ahead. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. See you in the next video.